All right, in this video, we're going to do the assessment training for 6.3 version B. So the first thing we want to look at is it says increasing. So we know that we're going to be adding to that whole number of 1. Now to write an equation, it's going to be y equals the starting value, which is 34,000, and then 1 plus the 0.025 raised to the x power. Or if you want to combine them, please go ahead and do so with making the b value 1.025. Now, how much is it worth today? That's when we're trying to find how many years ago. So we're going to let x equal 6. So we have this equation, we have this 34,000. The b value, the growth factor, is 1.025, and then raised to the 6th power. So notice that my equation had a y and an x, but then when I'm actually solving the problem is when we put it into the calculator. So we're going to evaluate, that means plugging in the x value to be 6 and getting a number. Now that number, remember we're talking about money. So it's not going to be 0.57, it's going to be 0.58. And I'm going to be checking this, so it's okay if you have a rounding error. So it's going to be about $39,429.58. Which, think about it, it starts at 34,000 and it's increasing, so we should have a bigger number, like we do. So for number 2, we're doing an investment. We see compounded quarterly. So that means our n is going to be 4. We have to use this fancy equation. We're going to start out with the $8,000. And then for the compound interest formula, it's always going to be 1 plus. 7% divided by 100 is 0.07. Now remember, we need to divide by 4. And then we also have to have 4 times t. The 4 is going to be in 2 different locations. We're dividing it by the rate, and we're multiplying it with the time and the exponent. So this part right here is me writing the equation. Now to solve the equation, you want to plug in, it says at the end of 9 years. So our time is 9. So rewrite the equation. It's only going to take a moment. Quarterly, remember, we're dividing by 4, and then we're going to do 4 times 9. Now when it says solve, that's exactly what you do. You throw it into the calculator and let the calculator evaluate these big numbers. Instead of t, we're going to put the 9. So we're going to get $14,939.30. Let's make sure I wrote it right. And I did. That should be a 1, sorry. So after 9 years, you can write the actual amount. So the actual equation, sorry, I wrote it up there. I'm going to copy it down. And then the amount is $14,939.30. So the decay means we are decreasing. from 1, which is subtraction. So we're going to give a rate, and that rate is going to be subtracted from the whole. Now the growth factor is our b value. And we need to remember that this is a times b raised to the x. So our b is really the 1.35. Now the mistake that was made is that 35%, remember it's a percent, so 35% is actually the percentage rate. Now, the 35% helps us get the growth factor because we have to convert it to a decimal, eliminate the percentage, and add it to 1. But if we are talking about the growth factor, that's our b value, and that's this when we do the 1 plus 0.35. So the 35% is actually the percentage rate. So how is the exponential decay function of the form a parenthesis 1 minus r raised to the x related to our first form f of x equals a times b to the x? B is actually written as 1 minus r for the first equation. So it's kind of more in depth. The 1 minus r shows you more specifically what the b value came from. For number 5, I already answered that question. For number 6, write an equation. So we are dealing with compounded. So we're going to use this template. Now this is our principal. To make it our rate, we have to do the divide by 100. This is our n value, and then this is our time. So we're going to put this all together. It's $15,000. Always 1 plus the rate divided by 4, and then 4 times t. So now the solve part is when you have to actually put this in and put the 10 into the t value. So when we do that, we're going to do the 15,000, 1 plus and 4 times 10. So that's going to get us $20,225.20 about. Now for this one, our equation is still 15,000. That's how much we're starting with. 1 plus the 0.03. And then instead of quarterly, this now means 12. So it's going to happen 12 times per year. So now we're going to evaluate. So that's the writing. And now we're going to evaluate and plug in the 10 into our t value. Now you can just copy and paste if you are comfortable doing so. And then instead of the 4, we're doing monthly. You just have to make sure you change both locations. So then this is going to be about $20,240.30. So after 10 years, the account B has more money. And the reason why it has more money is because the interest rate is happening 12 times a year, whereas compounded quarterly only happens 4 times a year. Now for number 7, we have a video that is labeled a fan favorite. And this is, we need to see when it drops below 1,000. So our A value is going to be 9,882. Our rate, divide this by 100. So then our equation will be 9,882, 1 minus 0.2 raised to the x. Or some of you are just simplifying it, totally fine. Now you need to put that into the calculator. Remember, this is when you use the graph. Make sure you use an exponent of x and then Control T. So day 0, that's how many views the video has. Day 1, this is how many views. Day 2, day 3, day 4. Remember, we're looking for below 1,000. We're going to have to keep going. And then I'm not going to copy it because I want to save time, but on tomorrow's test, that's what you'll do. You'll copy it. So on day 11, the video is viewed only 849 times. So it's no longer a fan favorite. All right, so for this one, we have 3 investment opportunities. The number of interest period, that's our N value. So we are going to use the compound. We're going to use this A equals P parenthesis 1 plus R over N raised to the N times T power. If you want, you can convert these all the way to a decimal. So then you can just easily put in the information. So it says Mohammed invested $8,000, 1 plus the rate. And then we said the N was 1. So then 1 times T. Now we're going to do the same thing for all of them. Instead of 1 interest period, it will be 4. And then the third one, we have a different interest rate. And that is 1 interest period per time. So we're going to throw those 3 equations into the calculator. And it says which one will have the greatest value in 5 years. So instead of T, we're plugging in the 5. So we all start with 1,000. And 1 times 5. investment A is going to be $10,210.30. If you're good at copying and you're going to remember to do both, and you can copy and paste. So this one's going to be $10,256.30. Now this one goes back to one interest period per year, but it's at a different rate. So it's 0.052. So then this gets us $10,307.90. So which investment will give us the greatest in 5 years? Investment C will give us the most. Now remember, if you want to get partial credit, it's ideal for you to, what I plugged into the calculator, that you write down on your paper, because I'm not going to see what you do on the calculator. So if you just take the few minutes like I'm doing right now and multiply and write these numbers down, you'll be able to hopefully get partial credit even if you make a mistake in the calculator. So evaluating these equations is how I got those values. So hopefully this video helps you.